Graceland Cemetery, Chicago. And we got Inez Clarke over here. This is one of the most visited in the cemetery, I'm sure. Still in great shape because they put that box around it.
At Graceland Cemetery in Chicago, Illinois, a statue stands out among the tombstones, protected behind glass. But this statue, as ordinary as it may appear, is unlike the others. Some say, for example, it's afraid of thunderstorms. Who's afraid of lightning? Although the death by electrocution is not among the most frequent phobias, about 1,000 people die every year in the world, and probably not even Inez Clarke was afraid before her untimely death. Legend has it that the 6-year-old girl was struck by lightning in the late 1800s. A terrible thunderstorm had broken out while she was on a picnic with her parents, and she died just before their eyes. They were devastated, so they had a life-size statue made in her likeness to remember her. A little girl sitting on a wooden chair, a subtle smile on her face, holding an umbrella in her right hand, a sad-fitting monument to the life ended too soon. Or maybe not. In cases like these, history is not history, but is something that looks like a legend, and the certainties about the causes of her death have been handed down orally for almost 150 years. Many versions report that Inez died of tuberculosis, a common disease during the 1800s, while others say that she was killed, yes, by lightning. But why she had been left out as punishment, and that she would have died from the inability to find shelter. In any case, Inez Clarke died very young. At the base of her statue is the name Inez and also the signature of its creator, A. Gagel, sculpture 1881. The statue was made by Andrew Gagel, born in Germany in 1846 and immigrated to the United States in 1872, who lived on West Farrell Avenue, not far from the Graceland Cemetery until his death in 1938. But who was Inez Clarke? All we know for sure is that Inez was 6 years old at the time of her death. She died struck by lightning or from tuberculosis, and a funeral statue of rare beauty was dedicated to her. The certainties, however, end here. Ironically, there's no Inez Clarke in the records of the cemetery, and not even in the historical record of Chicago, according to the 1880 census. The Graceland Cemetery files also certain an affidavit issued in 1910 by Mary C. Clarke stating her daughter from her marriage to John N. Clarke was still alive and neither she nor her husband had any other children. According to a research by cemetery historians Helen Clare and Al Walovich in an article in the Chicago Sun-Times in 2007, an Amos Briggs is listed as being buried under the statue, next to the alleged brother named Delbert Briggs. It seems that Inez Clarke came out of nowhere, leaving behind only a marble testimony. Some have theorized that the statue was carved by Andrew Gagel as a sample of his work in order to elicit business, but this does not explain the inscription under the statue. A reasonable explanation for this is that the girl's name was actually Inez Briggs, not Clarke, and is in fact the person buried beneath the statue. Based on extensive research, it is now all but certain that the girl is actually Inez Briggs, the daughter of Mary C. Clarke from a previous marriage. No one named Inez Clarke died in Illinois prior to 1960. However, an Inez Briggs died in Chicago of diphtheria on August 1st, 1880, the same day listed on the monument of Inez Clarke. And the Amos Briggs noted on the record card. Inez might sound like Amos when spoken, and Amos may have been accidentally written on the cemetery record. There are no record of anyone named Inez Briggs buried there. Hence, she is not buried anywhere in the cemetery, and moreover, no Amos Briggs is listed in the Illinois death records before 1916, which adds credence to the theory that the name is an error in transcribing the record. In any case, for decades, the true identity of the girl and of the actual person buried there have been in question, and no one will ever know for sure where Inez is actually buried or if the little girl ever existed in the first place. The mystery will probably continue to haunt visitors for years to come, and these questions have fueled several rumors about paranormal apparitions. Even in the afterlife, so it would seem, young Inez Clarke remembers, too, and her spirit is still afraid of thunderstorms, they say. When the night is dark and a storm is raging, the statue's glass case will be found empty. There's, in addition, an urban legend about the cemetery involving an old night watchman. He'd been out walking during a thunderstorm, and when he reached the grave of Inez Clarke, he found its glass box empty. The statue inside was gone. According to the legend, the night watchman never again returned to the cemetery, but by the next morning, the statue had mysteriously reappeared behind its glass. Others have claimed to have briefly glimpsed a small child in 19th century dress wandering through the cemetery. To this day, the statue is visited, and people often leave gifts for Inez. There are still stories, too, that if you listen quietly, sometimes you will hear the sound of a young girl crying near the statue. Her grave remains popular today, perhaps due to the high quality of the likeness, and one cannot visit the cemetery without making a stop to see it. The 140-year-old image remains in perfect condition thanks to its protection from the elements. To be honest, maybe we should go too bogged down in the details. Enjoy the story for what it is. There's no harm believing in ghosts, anyways.
This is very cool. Last time we was here, we didn't walk across this. Burnham is over here. Burnham Avenue, and you got the whole town of Burnham. Burnham, Illinois. Daniel Hudson Burnham. You know, I never knew why they use V's like this. I see this quite often.
Yeah, the courthouse.
Instead of the U, it's a V. What does that mean exactly? I don't know.
I think it's
I should know, but I don't.
maybe in Latin writing.
Yeah, but why partially like that? Same thing over here. All the U's look like V's.
Ready?
Somebody tell me in the comments. Battery might die. Go ahead.
Daniel Hudson Burnham, born September 1st, 1846, died June 1st, 1912. Perhaps the most influential architect and urban planner in Chicago history. Burnham became a draftsman for famed architect William Lee Barron Jenney, father of the modern skyscraper. In 1873, he persuaded friends and colleagues John Root to form their own agricultural firm, Burnham and Root, which became known for the 10-story Montauk block, perhaps the first building to be labeled a skyscraper. The Rookery, the second Rand McNally building, the building, and the Mason. He was director. He was director of works at the World Columbian Exposition of 1893.
I'm leaving it then.
He believed that an improved urban environment could provide a positive transformation experience for inhabitants. Burnham's masterwork in 1909 Plan of Chicago is considered a landmark in urban planning history. I'm sorry, I couldn't say those words. I still can't say them.
Here we go. We found Ludwig Wolfe.
Look at the top. Look at the top. Like way on.
Yeah, he's got a vent on the top, which he's in there with his daughter. I believe his daughter was one of the Iroquois victim fires, Iroquois theater fire. And it's been said if you knock on his door, you may hear something back. I call bullshit.
Dave's not here.
If I hear something, I will calmly walk away in a swift fashion. Yeah, little girl in there. Iroquois theater fire. Got a vent. That thing has got a vent down there. Yeah, it's just an air vent. Can't see anything into it, of course. Oh, it does look like a lid. Very cool. It's sad that little girl's in there. Yeah, very sad. I forgot her name. Lucy, that's right. I think everybody has heard of this name, but I may be wrong. Mr. Ernie Banks, 1931-2015, loving husband, father, and friend to all. He was the man.
Ernie Banks, Hall of Famer and prominent professional Major League Baseball player Ernie Banks, or more notable referred as Mr. Cub, played for the Chicago Cubs from 1953 to 1971. Ernie Banks was the Cubs' first African-American player and one of the first Negro League players to join the MLB without first playing in it. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row.
looking inside that. Or that. I got these babies closed up forever. Oh, and we gotta look. Of course, the glass is gone. Leaves and such. You know, I wonder if people really break this out. I mean, they had to, right? I don't see none of the glass. Maybe it was cleaned up, but once upon a time. Wall's falling over. This is definitely gonna fall. Look at that. Oh, heavens. Wow, look at this. Definitely a vent. Very cool. Look at these ladies up here on top, closing off the vent. Gotta have a vent. Alright, we swung across the street over here to Wonder Cemetery. Right over there, that wall. Yeah, and it's still raining. That wall is Graceland there. You got this, look at this thing. Beautiful.
I think they're sisters, Margaret and Marie.
Yeah, Margaret and Marie.
Yeah.
Possibly sisters. We'll try to find some info on it. Input there. Wow, this is incredible.
A glass-encased marble statue of two women embracing stands in contrast to Wonder Cemetery's field of spiraling pillars and obelisks. The women's finely chiseled features and draping clothes imitate the sculpture of ancient Greece, the delicate garlands of flowers in their laps suggesting more romantic art style. The family name on the monument is Raithel. The 8 grave markers bearing that name indicate a large family, but relationships are not specific. The oldest member buried at the site was John N., born in 1821, died in 1889. His wife was Barbara Nee Kuhn, born in 1827 and died in 1867. The monument represents two sisters who lie at the foot and apparently were very close when they were both alive. They were the daughters of John N. and Barbara, according to cemetery records. The monument was erected by the younger sister Marie after her elder sister Margaret died in 1906 at the age of 48. Marie died in 1930 at the age of 67. The Ristell monument is exceptional both in its representation and its ornate design, compared with other monuments in the cemetery. Statuary symbolizing the relationship between two family members was unusual in the time when monuments were erected to memorialize an entire family. Except for occasional bits of information picked up by cemetery sextons from records of family members, Little can be learned from cemetery monuments about the lives of those buried beneath them. Grave monuments can, however, provide some sociological information on a cemetery's population, such as nationalities, religion, and economic status. For example, the Ristels apparently were a wealthy family, as the monuments to the two sisters is more elaborate than any other in the cemetery.